Kanojo mo Kanojo is the trashiest anime out this season, I say, casually ignoring the blatant ecchi fest of Megami Ryo no Ryobokun. In fact, it's probably the trashiest and stupidest to come out in the last few, and I'm saying that fully aware that redo of Healer was only last winter. Wow, how quick was I to blot that from my memory? So it's me, your favorite knockoff of that other YouTuber you probably like better, back to talk about some garbage anime. Super Glass Gigax Basement? Yeah, that's probably it. And why this series is my latest obsession this season to the point that I can't keep my eyeballs off it. So Kanojo mo Kanojo, or Girlfriend Girlfriend, is an anime based on a manga based on a dysfunctional author's childhood trauma. That's not true at all. Why did I say that? I'm not rich enough to get sued. Hold on, let's back that up. Kanojo mo Kanojo, or Girlfriend Girlfriend, is an anime based on a manga by Hiroyuki, the creator of such godsends as Derivative Schlock, somehow more derivative than the last, and yours truly. Meaning we have someone who's been around the block before when it comes to not just comedy anime, but also adaptations. Though this is the series where the author's over-the-top humor really shines, and the one this time around features some stellar writing, as an overly earnest guy inexplicably dates the hot sports girl at school, and the other hot truant girl at school. That's right, 2 girlfriends. Who would have seen that coming? Oh, the title of the show? Yeah, that might have given it away. And from that premise alone, I know what you're thinking, lucky bastard, but also the drama of dating 2 girls behind each other's back will give us some juicy shit when that comes to light. But the gimmick here is fuck your drama. We've got overreacting comedy to do. The dude drags the other girl who asked him out while he's already dating someone to his current girlfriend, and asks her to let him date the both of them. Now, any normal person not into consensual polyamory is packing their emotional baggage at this point, and already halfway through their tweet thread trashing this dude for being lowlife. But not these characters. Instead they agree, move in together, and begin living in an open rivalry where just because they're officially dating, doesn't mean the war is won. At this point you should be getting why this series is just the worst sort of junk food. Plot is sort of where the cool kids stake a claim on if a series is worth watching. And me, being the trend chaser I am, do the same. But this series sticks a tall middle finger up at the concept of conflict and plot escalation, and instead asks what if the entire cast was stupid enough that they shouldn't be outside without adult supervision. So they immediately move into the guy's house where he refuses to make a move on either of them for fear of being unfair to the other, and tries his best to be a proper boyfriend, despite openly admitting that he's a scumbag. The sporty girl sucks at pretty much everything but being cute and athletic, so she gets jealous that she's not needed, runs away, but comes back when she admits that she just wants to be needed once in a while. The girl who's competent at housework is almost too dense and academically challenged for the real world. She pretty much just resorts to smiling and hoping her looks and cooking will get her by. So yeah, the core cast is almost too moronic to even come into direct conflict. The main dude, when asking if he can date another girl, is immediately shot down by brute logic, but bounces back by saying he'll make them both happy? But his girlfriend, too flustered in finding herself loving this girl too, platonically at least, says she'd like to see him try. So there we go. We're off to the tracks of the cast who answers logic with pure idiotic, short-sighted emotion, fueling the comedy that's propelling the storyline forward, at least in a but therefore sense, where long-term conflict, climax, and resolution is scaled down to almost every hiccup, leading to an ad hoc feel. Despite being for the borderline brain dead, its whimsical approach to story is a breath of fresh air in the medium. And yeah, the whole 2 girls, 1 guy is an obvious subversion of social norms too, since monogamy is pretty standard in the developed world. So tackling that sincerely with a purposeful ineptitude on the cast's part gives it something to stand on. But that's only part of the absurdity here. What elevates this beyond the typical dumb, slightly perverted romance comedies you see in anime? That it isn't so in love with its premise to the point that the planning stopped there. Most gimmicky comedies tend to flounder in their initial premise, like the aforementioned Megami Ryo, where it never tries to go beyond and say these are the people involved, and this is how they change through the dynamic. 2 girlfriends would naturally be an endpoint or stalling period for most other franchises, where that status quo becomes both the joke and the plot at the same time, so nothing's really gonna change. But what do we have here? That this is a launching pad for the cast to be the best group of hyper idiots who faceplant socially due to their lack of subtlety? Yeah, They get found out they're in a three-way relationship in episode 4, and the response is them trying to one-up who has the most dirt on each other to keep the other's mouth shut. Every interaction becomes this sort of arms race, causing simple, mundane events to explode into major plot beats in unforeseen ways. Because the cast is so over the top with their emotions, it creates this absurd escalation for minor situations. The one girl leaves home, and the response is, the dude stays up for multiple days writing her a mountain of love letters, which she promptly throws back at him and knocking him on his ass. When a third girl shows up trying to get with the main dude, he has to flat out even tell these girls that they need to get rid of her quick, because he's already two-timing them, and he doesn't trust himself enough to not fall for this girl and become a three-timer. The girls later try to appeal to him sexually, and he tries his best to maintain composure and brush them off gently, only making them super happy to the point that they're giddy the next day, like absurdly pleased with themselves. And you feel like things got a bit more heated than what was led on, except we saw the whole situation. And none of this would work unless the cast was having an absolute blast in their roles. Each one ends up shouting their lines with perfect comedic timing, to sell how spur of the moment all their rash decisions are, often turning into a train wreck of beauty, with people on the sidelines screaming to stop, but one barrels forward in an odd one-upsmanship. I'm usually one who praises engagement with media, and this series on the surface doesn't seem to do that at all. But it totally does. Because while I'm not thinking about how deep and amazing this series is with its cultural critique, I'm actively engaging with it by anticipating where these situations will go. And hey, that's a bit different than the usual, because at least it can keep me guessing. So what do you get when you have a really loose association with your plot, a runaway train feel to the humor, and characters too naive to dodge the social landmines of high school? You get a series that's painfully self-aware just how absurd and stupid it is, and plays all of that as a strength. There's not an exact point you're drawn into the plot, because, honestly, there's just not much plot. But seeing the next shitstorm coming and how the cast weasels out of it is honestly too fascinating to look away from. Girlfriend is just some great junk food to keep your anime diet light, because there honestly isn't a single moment where everyone involved isn't having the time of their life. Hey, you made it to the end of the video. This was a little more loose and, flippant than usual, and probably more of a review than discussing anything besides atypical plot and humor style. But let me know what you think of that with a comment down below. Maybe a thumbs up or thumbs down too. You can also check out my Discord with a link down in the description, and if you really want to support me, you can head on over to my Patreon and pick up some extra perks, like voting on what I do next. Thanks for watching.